Hey, what's up guys, and welcome back to a new China phone video. Today we'll check out what we can find inside of a fake Galaxy S5. You may know that they are extremely cheap, so the cheapest copies retail for about $70 to $100, which is almost nothing. But why are they so fucking cheap? Now we'll open up this dual core copy and take a look at the internals to see if they're dangerous or not. So let's get started guys. To dismantle it, we just need a small screwdriver, a case opener tool or sharp fingernails. First of all, we have to remove the back cover and the battery. Also on the back side we'll find some screws we need to remove before we can get out the display, and I will do this here right now. Okay, now it's time to remove the glass and the display, so I will use this case opener tool to raise the display and separate it here from the frame, so just give me a few seconds. So now I have separated the display unit from the rest of the phone, and now let's go quickly through the parts. Here you can see the connector for the digitizer, it's this flex cable with this IC. Then here you can see another flex cable, which is the connector for the display. Here you can see the display, which is held by this plastic frame. And here on the top of the frame you can see the speaker, and the speaker is not connected with a flex cable to the mainboard. The speaker is connected with those two golden pins, so one on each side. And now let me see if I can separate the glass from the display, so just give me a second. Separating the display from the glass was actually easier than I thought. They are not glued together like on the real S5, they are two single units. So the digitizer is glued on this plastic frame, and the display is held in position by the frame right under the digitizer. Now this has pros and cons. It's good because if the glass breaks, you can easily replace it without replacing the display if you get one. And it's bad because dirt can get between the display and the glass, and also those builds tend to get ghost touches or strain on the display, which could crack it. And I also think the capacitive buttons are different. On the real one you have contacts which are glued to the digitizer, and here they're somewhere in the digitizer. But all in all, it's pretty simple. And now let's put it beside and let's take a look at the rest of the phone. Okay, now I'll try to get the mainboard out of the case. Therefore, I have to remove the home button, which is right over here. And then I will remove those screws here on the top. And then I should be able to separate the case parts and get the mainboard out of it. So let's get started. Oh yeah, so now I have separated the outer plastic shell from the plate which holds the mainboard, and you can see here on the first look that there is no hole for the IR LED in the plastic shell, so the IR LED is not working. But there are clones which have a working IR LED, but they are much more expensive. Also we have here some contacts in the outer plastic shell. I'm not sure what they are doing, so maybe they will just bridge some contacts on the mainboard. Okay, so basically that was everything, and now let's go down the plastic shell. Also here on the bottom we have the speaker and the sealing, but don't mix it up with waterproof, so this sealing is just to prevent dirt entry, and this phone is definitely not waterproof. The whole display unit isn't waterproof, and also the back cover does not have a sealing, so this phone is not waterproof. Now let's take a closer look at the mainboard and all the single components. In the middle we have the mainboard, which is still here on this iron plate, and on the right side we have the home button, the LEDs, the charging port, which is connected to the mainboard with a flex cable. And here you have a closer look on the components which are on the front side of the mainboard, so let's go quickly through them. Here we have the front camera, which is really bad on this clone, a 3.5mm headphone jack. Then here we have the proximity and light sensor. Then we come to the digitizer and the display port, and that means here you have to connect your display and digitizer connector. And last but not least we have this multi-LED, which is capable of emitting red, green and blue light, and this one lightens up if you charge your smartphone or if you get notifications. And here you have a closer look on the opposite side of the mainboard. So once again, let's go quickly through the parts. On the top we have a 3.5mm headphone jack, then here we have those gold connectors for the flexible cable in the outer plastic shell. Then this is the back camera, it's replaceable but not upgradable. Then this little part here should be the heart rate monitor, at least on the original one. I'm not sure if it is working, it looks like the light sensor, but for the most time the values are total bullshit. Okay, then here we got the LED flash, and it's always too yellow on clones. I don't know why, maybe someone can explain that. This slot here is the 2-in-1 SIM card and SD card slot, and here we have the pins for the battery. And one tip, if you have backlight problems, so if the backlight of your LCD is not working, then check out this little part here on the mainboard. It's mostly shorted, and then you have to replace it. Those parts are really cheap but not that easy to replace, and I will post a tutorial for that on ChinaDevices.com. Also here on the back side you can find the contacts for wireless charging. I'm not sure if they are compatible with the S5 wireless charging receivers, but I will get one soon to test it. Here on this clone they look different than on the real one, so I'm not sure if it is compatible. And then you may want to know what's under those metal cases. Basically there I can find important chips like CPU, GPU and all that stuff, which needs to be isolated from the rest. And here you can see an area on the PCB which is prepared to be soldered, but there are no chips on that. So I can't tell you what belongs here, but maybe it's because it's only the dual core version with 512MB of RAM. And before I will tell you why those phones are that cheap, let's go through the other parts. Here you can see the vibration motor, which is soldered directly here to the mainboard with the red and blue cable. And we can also find here a flex cable and an antenna cable, which goes to the bottom of the phone. So let's just trace this cable here and let's take a look at the bottom of the phone, where we can find the charging port. But here isn't only the charging port, here's also the main GSM antenna point, the backlight for the capacitive buttons, the home button and much more. Actually it's pretty good that it's connected with the flex cable, because if the charging port breaks down, or for instance the backlight from the capacitive buttons, you can easily replace it. And now let's go back to the chips, and then I want to tell you why those phones are that cheap. So most China phones are MTK based. MTK stands for MediaTek, which is a chip producer. MTK provides system-on-chip solutions for many phones, tablets, TVs and much more, and they are located in Taiwan, and that means they can produce their chips really cheap. The performance is not as good as the chips which Samsung uses. For instance, MTK includes GPS, 3G, CPU, GPU and all that stuff, and Samsung uses high quality chips like a Snapdragon 801 CPU, a own GPS chip, and working heart rate monitor and much more sensors and all that stuff. And also the overall build quality is much better. For sure you also pay for the name, but also the quality of the chips and the whole internals, the sensors and everything is much better on the original one. So I always say you get what you pay for, and quality has its price, and in my eyes it's worth it. Okay, we're now at the end of this video, and I hope you enjoyed it, and I also hope you know now why those phones are that cheap. So think about it if you want to get one or not, but you can trust me, they won't explode in your hands. The quality of the SoCs and the body improves from year to year, so they're getting better and better. And there are also brands which have an amazing build quality like Oppo, but they're also very expensive. So if you want to read more, then head over to ChinaDevices.com, the link is in the description, and get a part of the community. Okay, so as always guys, thanks for watching, and I hope to see you again in my next videos. Bye bye.